welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon. I am a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer, so nothing that you see or hear on this video is legal advice. Today's video is actually kind of a guest appearance on my friends over at the Thomas Family Life. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Hey guys, we are Thomas Family Life. I'm Angel.
I'm Roland. And we're full-time digital nomads. We are always looking to build content to help small brands build a brand online.
Today's video, their content is amazing, so I will link their channel in the description box below. Today we are going to be discussing COPPA and how that is going to affect content creators and what they do here on YouTube. So hopefully you guys find this helpful. And of course, if you have questions, comments, concerns, leave them below.
You know, but what is COPPA?
So in, I guess, the simplest terms, COPPA is a privacy law that is intended to protect minors, so 13 and under. And it's actually been around for a while. I want to say they redrafted it in the early mid-90s, perhaps. So it's been something that's been in play for a long, long time. And the reason why it's coming up now is because YouTube and Google are massive offenders for not following it. And now they're kind of throwing that back on the people who utilize their platforms, i.e. the content creators. When the reality is, it's not really your fault. It's the fact that YouTube wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing all of this time, unfortunately, because, I don't know, maybe the platform grew to a level that they weren't necessarily anticipating. They didn't have the right structure in place to kind of protect the minors in this situation. And the aim of the law is to keep minors' personally identifiable information, which includes things like name, address, email if they have one, IP address, all of that information private and hidden, because they're children and advertisers and big business doesn't really need to have that information. The changes to the law are kind of a reaction to the fact that data is, if it isn't already, is going to be the next big commodity. For the most part, I think it's already probably the biggest commodity in the world. People don't realize that the amount of money that goes into buying and selling information about you as a human being, it's actually kind of scary if you think about it. If you really dig into it, it makes you want to go off the grid like you wouldn't believe. And I'm an avid social media and internet user, and I love technology, and even it scares me. Yeah. So this is just in order, you know, last year we had, I don't know if you guys remember, every company on the planet was emailing you saying they had updated their privacy policy because the GDPR, which is a law out of the European Union, was enacted. California has another law going to effect in January of, I believe it's January 1, 2020, which is again just another privacy law aimed at protecting the consuming public. So all in all, COPPA is a great thing, and it's not something that we need to be scared of or worried about. It's something that we need to support in order to protect, you know, our information and children's. I don't have children. You guys have children. Protecting their information is extremely valuable. So, yeah.
I mean, so I know a lot of folks have talked about, man, that we could get fined, you know, for, you know, $40,000 plus, you know, if we create something that's for a kid or what COPPA has all these vague rules about, you know, about what's considered kid content. And so this is legit terrifying, because I know we have kids. They show up in our videos, you know. Are we gonna get slapped with a $40,000 fine? I mean, that's terrifying. So what are they getting at? You know, what are they getting at about that?
So I think, and it is vague. It's meant to be vague because things change so quickly. They need to leave it open. As from a lawyer's perspective, sometimes I want things to be nailed down tight, and then sometimes depending on what side of the maybe contract I'm on, I need to leave it a little bit vague. So there's wiggle room, and there's room for things to kind of grow and evolve. So I get why they've left it vague. I actually think the law, I think it's written pretty well, but I know in application, it's very confusing. I can say with almost, I'm a lawyer, so I don't give any kind of guarantee, but with some degree of certainty, I think you guys, particularly like a channel like yours, even though there are children involved, you are creating the channel to help adults. Your channel isn't there to entertain children. Just because a kid hops on YouTube and can find your videos or is maybe attracted to your videos because there are children in it, the content of your video is not geared towards children. So the FTC actually has some pretty good articles on their websites. So yes, there are fines, and I should have written down the numbers, but for maybe one, slap on the wrist, it could be up to 40,000 or something. The FTC is not trying to bankrupt anybody. They're not trying to find content creators like families like you guys and say, you know what, we think you violated this law. We're able to fine you up to X amount, so therefore that's what we're doing. They're really, truly going to do this stuff on a case-by-case basis. They're going to look at all the facts. They're going to look at who you are, what your past videos are. They're going to take into consideration the whole rather than just the one instance where you maybe accidentally or, maybe violated COPPA before they slap a fine on you. But getting back to being able to tell whether or not the FTC would target you, if the content of your videos is meant to speak to children, and I think we kind of all inherently know when we're doing something, if that is for children, then yes, you need to be worried about COPPA. If your content is content that could be attractive to children, but isn't for children, then I wouldn't be so worried about it. Like I know the video game example has been thrown out there a lot.
Yeah.
There are tons of video games for adults. There are tons of video games that are rated for teens. If you're discussing a video game that's rated for teen, that's not for a child. It's specifically made for ages X, and over. So it's not your fault if a kid who, this is where YouTube should have better control. It's not your fault if a kid gets on YouTube and watches that video.
Yeah.
The FTC isn't looking for that. What they're really looking for is people who are actively violating the law on purpose. And gathering information from children that they shouldn't be gathering, which is kind of the instance that YouTube found itself in, which is why they were slapped with such a big fine. Or big to us, it probably doesn't, just a drop in the bucket to YouTube. But, YouTube knew what they were doing. They knew that children under the age of 13's information was being collected by advertisers, and they weren't doing anything about it. It kind of, the FTC isn't like they're not out to get anybody. They're out to protect,
They're not going to be like Big Brother,
Right.
on every single video. Oh, I see a kid. I see a kid.
We all know the way the government works. It's slow. It's cumbersome. Like, I don't even think they're going to have a panel set up for people to just be on YouTube all day looking for violators.
Yeah.
These are going to be things that activist organizations are going to maybe find and then report to the FTC. And then if the FTC wants to look into it, that's how influencers get in trouble for the most part, unless influencers are unless you're Kim Kardashian. So another thing people don't realize, influencers are violating the FTC laws literally left and right all day, every day. I see it. I'm like, oh, this is so annoying. But nothing ever happens to them because the FTC can't possibly monitor every single person that uses social media. So unless the influencer is at a certain level to where an activist group or, would report them, or the FTC does kind of have their eyes on them, you're going to fly under the radar, which I'm not saying you should violate the law by any stretch of the imagination, obviously. But, that's just the practicality of the matter is when you really think about it. I mean, unless you're, again, a Kim Kardashian or a pro athlete or somebody who already has a major spotlight on them, the likelihood of your content being targeted is a lot lower than you think it is.
So I mean, so just like you mentioned earlier, like this isn't new, right? This isn't a new thing. It's changed a little bit since its inception, but it's not new. So I mean, how do companies outside of YouTube, how have they handled this? How have they handled this?
So theoretically, what people should be doing, or what companies should be doing, is if their website is collecting that personally identifiable information, which again is more than just names or phone numbers or addresses. It's IP address and geolocation and things that maybe your computer automatically shares that you don't necessarily know it's sharing. But if a website is set up in order to collect that information, you're supposed to actively tell consumers, and this is just in general, you need to tell consumers that your website is collecting that information. And California requires there to be certain opt-out procedures and things like that. So in order to avoid having children under the age of 13 giving that information away, there needs to be like an active acceptance. And you have to say, I'm above the age of 13, click yes, da, 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 da. And while we all know that you can just type in something and your computer does what it does, at that point, it's not really on the company anymore. It's on that child and the parent, that the kid has a computer. The structure is there to keep the kid from being on that site, but there's easy ways around it. So it's not the most effective thing always, but that's, I guess, in theory, that's the idea. So
how do we as creators, I mean, I was thinking this, right? I was thinking maybe I could just put a little caption in and say, that this content or our channel isn't for kids. If you're 13 and if you're 13 under, if you're under 13, watch with your parents, something like that. Now, am I just going extreme, or is that even does that even matter? In trying to figure out a way to protect ourselves.
I don't think it's extreme, and I think at least having something in, in your description box that says this content is not for children or rated PG-13, since that's like a standard rating system in the U.S. But I mean, having a disclaimer in there, while there isn't any case law right now to say how the FTC is going to weigh in on that or not, I think, at least in regards to YouTube disclaimers, and I don't know another scenario where a disclaimer would be an appropriate use, but I think it's helpful. I don't think it can hurt. I think, again, going back to like the history of your channel, and if you have a clearly or mildly clearly channel that's geared towards children and you suddenly start putting that in there, don't think that's going to help. But if you're, again, on the fence, maybe you do talk about video games, and some of your video games are children's video games. So you would mark those as, for kids. And then anything else, you would say, hey, you know what, this one's not for kids, just to make it clear. This content of this video is PG-13 or whatever. So yeah, I don't think it's being too cautious. And I don't think it's a bad idea. And I also don't think it needs to be anything crazy. Just like, these videos are not intended for children, under the age of 13. And having that, I think that would be helpful. And I think, again, you have to think, or how we think as lawyers, we think, what would happen if this person got sued? What's the evidence we need to show to support our position?
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, I was like, yeah, honey, let's put this in the description. Let's let them know that, hey, we ain't making videos for kids.
That's right.
You want to show your intent was not at all to make videos or attract children to your channel, and having that disclaimer is just one more way to show that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, this is critical, right? So I noticed that everyone, all content creators, they noticed that YouTube has put two options for us, right? One, this video is for kids. Two, this is not for kids. And if you select this is kids, your video instantly, no comments, it's not searchable, it's not any of this stuff. And so we've been putting this is not for kids. So is that kind of what you thinking is like the right way to go? So what you're saying is that if we are declaring that our channel is not promoting kids stuff, trying to gather kids information, we're making a channel that is not for kids. If we are making something that is for kids, it's a kid review or kid review, toy review, anything like that. Maybe I'm thinking something like that, then we put this is for kids, and then good luck on how they're going to find it.
Right. So I think there's some issues with what YouTube has set up here as far as not for kids and for kids, and those being your only two options, and like putting it on you guys to make that decision and be in control of all of that, is unfortunate. But since those are your only two options, I think, putting something is not for kids when it's clearly not, that's going to be your best option.
Yeah.
If like you were saying, I know since you guys have kids and y'all are traveling a ton, and maybe your kids are in the video and they're talking about something that they did on a trip, probably still not for kids, right? Because no 13 or unless it's Home Alone, most 13-year-olds are not traveling by themselves, right?
Yeah.
So they're sure as heck not going anywhere alone. So just because your kids are there saying like, we did X, Y, and Z, and we got to see this really cool thing, and maybe you went to a kid's theme park.
Yeah.
So don't think that would be a for kids video, because again, a kid can't take themselves to that theme park. They need an adult in order to do that. But if you made a video with just your kids reviewing their Christmas presents, maybe mark that one as for kids. Having the distinctions it's a, I would say, mediocre answer to the problem, but since it is the only answer we have right now, marking your stuff as not for kids, great. When I make YouTube videos, because I'm a lawyer, I have to make a disclaimer that my videos are not legal advice, because I don't know whoever it is I'm talking to. If you come across my video, it's really just educational purposes only. You guys can do something similar. Be like, this is to educate adults on, and I mean, even you say that, how to live a nomadic lifestyle and travel. And those are things that are traditionally only for adults. Just because you might be interested in it, that's not really your problem. So that's how I feel about that.
So my heart rate is coming down. I don't. Because I mean, for real, we were legit, sweating bullets, because, you were like, okay, well, is this the end of YouTube? Is this the end of all content creators?
A lot of people are saying that, and there's a couple attorneys actually that I won't name names, but I think are just kind of fear mongering to try and get people upset. And you should be upset with YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if YouTube dings you guys and dings me for this, but it's not our fault. It's not a content fault that they screwed up and that they don't have the things in place to protect 13-year-olds and under. However, now they're passing it on to us. They're not trying, and again, the FTC, they're not trying to ruin anyone's lives. They're not trying to make YouTube go out of business. I mean, they just made however many millions of dollars off of YouTube. Of course, they don't want to go out of business. But they are trying to protect kids. And YouTube should have done a better job, and they still, direct your fear and your anger towards them. Don't worry. I know the FTC had put out a thing for comments and things like that. Go to YouTube, start emailing, start getting mad at YouTube. I mean, if anyone's watching this, create another platform like that actually knows how to monitor. And I know there's a kids YouTube. So I'm not certain why everybody who gets on YouTube isn't 13 or over. You should theoretically be allowed to be on YouTube if you're under the age of 13. And again, the FTC would have to look at that and say, okay, here's the checks and balances in place before someone even creates a profile. Yeah. So it's not the content creator's responsibility if some parent isn't parenting their kid and they now have a YouTube channel. But that's just my 2 cents. So the fear and the anger and that's all valid, but it should be directed at YouTube and not the law or the FTC. Not that I love the FTC either, but
yeah. I'm pure freedom. Freedom. Make money the way we can make money. Capitalism, baby. All right. So I think that's it for us. And that really helps us, understand kind of how to move forward in 2020, and we're not going to just really be scared and intimidated when the New Year's ball drop. And I just want to make sure my viewers don't drop. And the money we trying to make don't drop.
it makes sense that people who do, because there are tons of children. I know that there's a kid who reviews toys. He's like not even 10 years old, and he's a multimillionaire.
I know.
Unfortunately, he's about to have. A lot of that's going to go away because the advertising it won't be allowed on his channel because it is clearly a kid's channel.
Yeah.
So that does, that sucks for that guy, and that sucks that the law is going to have that effect on him. But I think our children's privacy is a little bit more important than his toy reviews.
Yeah.
So sure, that is sad and that's annoying. But for people like you guys and people who create, you just have to think if it's a traditionally adult activity or adult subject, then you're fine. And I know that's probably ever changing, but the law will catch up. And just the FTC is not out to get you. Don't worry about that.
So if we take a few things from this, if we take, let's say, a few bullet points, right? Number one, that the FTC is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
So let's not completely trip out, because it's going to take them a while to get things in place to monitor this movement or to monitor this new thing. Number two, if your channel is traditionally an adult focused channel, you're probably going to be okay because we cannot provide legal advice. but you're probably going to be okay because you have shown a history of creating non-kid type of videos.
Right.
And then I guess lastly, if a kid jumps on your video, all is not over. It's not the end of the world. If one kid who's registered under 13 sees your video, it's not saying that you are a kid's channel. They just didn't have no privacy thing set at home.
Right, exactly.
And to note that in your description. So
yeah. Honestly, again, just like with anything else, if you're creating clear videos for children, like toys or talking about the most recent animated movie or something, although animation is another great area, and you're slapping on a disclaimer that's like, this video is not for kids. Okay, well, you're a liar, and that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you're not lying and you truly are saying, listen, this is about traveling, this is about going to different places in the country, this is about books that I read, and even if they're teen novels, that's not for kids.
Yeah.
Having that disclaimer is just another layer of protection for yourself. It's about, and I know if you're not a liar, you're going to be fine.
Not doing anything shady.
Common sense, basically. Don't lie. Be honest and have integrity. That's good.
Exactly. Be honest. And if you're not honest and you don't have integrity, the FTC will eventually catch up to you. Somebody will report your channel, and then you need to worry. So if you're watching this video to try and figure out a way around the law, there isn't a way around it. The point is we're trying to protect kids and their information. So I'm sorry. Like, that's my answer to you. If you create content for children, I'm sorry. There are going to be changes to what happens on your YouTube channel because children's privacy is important. But the majority of people on YouTube don't create content for children. They just don't. And unfortunately, YouTube doesn't give out the demographic information like they should. Hopefully that's something that will change so that without a doubt who is watching your content. Because again, that's something that's in the law that, the FTC is going to look at the demographic information. Since we don't have any case law right now on it, if you've never even seen that content or that demographic information, how is the FTC going to be able to use that against you? That's a good question that's going to have to be figured out, either within the court system or when the FTC slaps a fine on somebody, that kind of thing. So it's still very gray, but I think people need to be way less afraid of it than they are, and to really just, keep being honest, good people on your channels, and you should be.